Well, this is quite spectacular. This is the falls of the River Clyde at New Lanark. It's the 22nd of January 2014 and we've come to New Lanark a bit late in the afternoon to actually do the guided tour. So it's a quick bit of filming and then on our way. So I guess the best thing to do is perhaps just take a walk about and leave the camera on so we can see what this fantastic looking place is all about. From the little that I've read, it was built in 1785 and the idea was to house about 2,000 people where they would go to school. We were talking to an old gentleman there whose mother was born here, and he went to school here and to Sunday school, and he worked in the mill here, as did all his family, his parents and uncles, and you know, he was telling us that during the war about when all these windows had to be blacked out that we can see here, and not only these ones but the thousands of windows that you'll see when you come round here into the main area. We're going away now from the Clyde Falls, so you can probably hear me a bit better. So all these windows there, the chap was telling us his father was a joiner and he had some accident pre the Second World War and couldn't go, so he stayed here and made shutters to black out all these windows, and was telling us that when Clydebank was being bombed, his father had a friend that told him that if he stood at the top of the hill up there somewhere and looked in the direction of Clydebank, you could see the explosions lighting up the sky. It must have been horrific. So we're walking towards this wheel here. The man also told us that up until just after the war it was DC current only, so therefore that meant you had electric lights, but that was all the electricity you had. There was no, everything was cooked in the fire, or there was no electric stoves, etc. And he also told us in detail about living in the flats and how you know, there used to be outside toilets, and if you were really lucky and you stayed in the house on the hillside, it would have a running water and a toilet indoors. So that's the flats he was telling us about, just through the trees there. Ground floor was all kitchen and scullery, and middle and upper floors were dwelling areas. And on the right hand side of, say, let's take that gable end there, the top two on the right, or the top four on the right, there would be a living room and a bedroom, and then just where you can see that downpipe to the left of the third one in, that was just a living room, come bed sit. So it was pretty packed if you had a big family there. Okay, so we're going to go on now. This was a going concern, I read, until 1965. So, as I said already, you had this 2,000 or so people staying and working and living their lives completely in this area. The man went on to tell us, you know, that there's basketball halls, I don't know, sorry, there's a badminton rooms, maybe in that room I'm looking at, on the upper floor, and many's the time he played his games of badminton in there. He also went on to tell us where the boiler house was, and gave us about 2 hours of information in 5 minutes flat. And then my phone rang and I had to say cheerio. So that's modern technology for you. I had to end an extremely interesting conversation with an ex-worker in the area. So Robert Owen was given or bought this site from his father-in-law. His father-in-law was deeply religious, and Robert Owen had no time for religion at all, we read. But however, his father-in-law came round to liking the guy, and he married his daughter, and they went on to have 7 children, and went to the States as well to open a similar mill out there. So of course this is a cotton mill. So there we are. So I think we're going to head up to the car now and carry on our journey. But as I do so, I'll leave this filming because it is really something else, especially when you're looking down on the village from the footpath on the hill. We're coming into the area where the man told us the boiler rooms were, and over where you can see these seats, the boiler rooms are sited there, and of course they were fueled by coal and dross, he told us, and over in that green area there was some offices, and this of course is where he or some of the people lived, and there were huge gates here. Where you can see this small gate, there was once huge gates, he informed us, and the bell would ring at 8 o'clock in the morning to tell the people that that was the start of their working day, and the people would come out with that. The bell would ring for 5 minutes at that door there called New Buildings, I can see 1798, and it would ring for 5 minutes, and if you went out of there and across and through these gates post haste, then you would get docked. The old man that I talked about was baptised in the church you can see in front of us there. So as I ascend these steps in front of us, I'm going to go on to pause there. There's another view of a street down there. I mean, there's people staying in these houses just now, as you can see by the cars that's there. So this is a World Heritage Centre, and when it closed in 1965 it went into a state of disrepair, and from 1995 to 1999 it went through this huge refurbishment. So you can see that all the stonework, for example, has been cleaned up and it's looking pretty special. So I'm going to pause now until I'm further up the hill and then we'll look down on it. Just heading up towards the car on the hillside there, when I noticed this gate in front of us here, and you can clearly see that the people of New Lanark had their own war memorial in this for this community. So looking down on New Lanark Heritage Site, you can see the Falls of Clyde down there and the buildings that made up this community, workplace, school, church. Quite magnificent.